All right, so like I said, we're going to talk about a marketing technique that once in its prime was really effective for all of us and helped us all to rank in the search engines really well, and also brought us a lot of traffic just from the article marketing directories itself. Now, since the Google Panda update, this has changed quite a bit, and it's nowhere near as effective as it once was, but there's still a lot of use to still doing article marketing. It's just you don't get the same results that you had from it before, but now if you use it in a different perspective, you can still get good results in different areas. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So, the big question everybody has, and I get this every now and then through email, is article marketing dead? And the short answer is yes and no. It has died out in the function that it originally uh, was popular for, but it still has uses in online marketing, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight is how things have shifted to another way that you can still use article marketing to your benefit. So just a brief explanation here of what article marketing is in case you're brand new and never have done it. Article directories is where you you publish these articles that you've written, and there are places where people can submit original content, which is in article format, that they have created in hope that the articles would get picked up by webmasters needing content for their websites to syndicate. Another side benefit from them is, they also were places that people would go to search for content, to look up topics and questions, and it would bring traffic to your websites as well. And there's still some of that that goes on, but nowhere near as much as it used to be because the article directories aren't indexed in the search engines as they once were. In its peak from about 2005 through 2013, these articles would get picked up by Google and the other search engines, and they would help rank a blog or website higher for searched indexes because of the content that these articles provided. During their peak time, article directories were kind of viewed like blogs. Uh, the content was constantly changing, and it was always new, fresh content. So, the search engines are always looking for, new and fresh content. So, they held an authority rank for a long time, several years, that if you could get an article to rank well on the article directory, it would get picked up by the search engines and rank well in the regular search engine rankings as well. So for several years, they had a really valid use, and there was a lot of marketers that built their business based on article marketing. Sean Mice is one of them. He's published probably, I don't know if it's 20 or 25,000 articles between this time. Actually, I think he quit probably around 2011 or so, but he had 20 to 25,000 articles he'd posted over on eZine Articles. Now, of course, he didn't write all of those himself. He outsourced a lot of the writing, but in the very beginning, he did most of the writing for the first year or two, and then he started outsourcing it once he started getting results from it. So, what happened with article marketing? In 2014, Google's Panda update viewed article directories as link farms and began de-indexing the article directories. And this happened to even the big well-known ones, the ones that, really tried to, make sure that they had quality articles. It happened to them as well. Um, Almost instantly after the Panda update, article directories disappeared from the search engine results. And websites that were linked to the article directories also suffered that they didn't completely disappear, but they lost a lot of their rank because they were linking to the article directories. Now, some people claim that they also de-index the websites that use the syndicated article content as well, but that's not entirely true. Now, it was true for these blogs and websites that depended solely on the syndicated content because they were classified just as the article directories when the Panda update came out. But if a blog or website just used occasional content from an article directory, they didn't suffer as much from it. I mean, it didn't help them that, initially when the Panda update came out, if you were linking back to one of the article directories, it kind of hurts you a little bit in your rankings for linking back to a site that they had de-indexed. But it didn't hurt all blogs and websites like some people thought. Just the ones that were dependent solely on having their content come from syndicated articles from the blogs and directories, or from the article directories. The blogs and websites that were built solely on syndicated content did take a hit, just as the content, the scraping auto blogs took a hit before the previous update to Panda. You all may remember the period of auto blogging. This was from, I guess, about 2010 through 2012. Auto blogging, where you'd have these programs and WordPress plugins that would go out and scrape content from other sites and create automatic posts to your blog. Those were really popular there for about 2 years, and Google caught on to that really quick, and they squashed that really quick. So basically the same thing happened with blogs that were dependent solely on syndicated content. They weren't viewed as like auto blogging, but because that's all their content was content generated from some other website, and they were just syndicating it, they took a hit as well. Sites that didn't depend on it for their main source of content didn't get hurt as bad. I mean, it didn't help them any to have syndicated content, but it didn't de-index them like people thought it would. Only the ones that depended on that as their sole source of content were hit the worst with this. But the big article directories like eZine Articles and Article Alley and Go Articles and several of the others fought back and cleaned up their sites, and after months of negotiating with Google and adhering to their standards of practices for content, they were once again indexed by Google. Now, they never did regain the authority status that they once had before. It's just that Google did allow them back into their search indexes. They just never did gain back the authority rank that they had before, and they probably never will gain back the authority rank, because it's seen now Google still views article directories as somewhat link farms, unless they're adhering to the updates they come out with and the guideline policies for content syndication. Content syndication is not a bad thing. It's just that the way the article directories were handling it before is what made it bad, and we're going to talk about how that went bad here in just a little bit. So, who ruined article marketing and caused this Panda update to happen to start with? Well, first off, there's two main entities that you can blame for it, and there's actually a couple of others, but the two biggest ones were the article directory owners themselves and internet marketers. We all know that whenever a new method or a system comes out and internet marketers find out about it, everybody jumps on the bandwagon and starts using it, and a lot of people start abusing it, and lots of times that little method or loophole or whatever it might be gets closed up really quick. Basically the same type of thing happened with article marketing. A lot of internet marketers abused article marketing, and we'll talk about that here in just a little bit, what they did. But it wasn't solely just them. The article directory owners themselves were a huge part to blame in the downfall of article marketing. So the article directory owners, what happened with them is a lot of them seen it as an opportunity for them to be able to run more ads on their websites, because they were getting a lot of traffic to their websites from having this syndicated content. So they got greedy, and they plastered their directories with AdSense ads and banner ads. And first off, this was seen as abusing the AdSense terms of service by Google, so that's one of the first strike against them. Google allows you to have 3 spots for AdSense ads on your web pages, and of course they were using up all 3 of those spots. In addition, placing banners in as many open spaces as they could on these same web pages. So with the addition of adding all those banners, I mean, it was definitely, they were becoming link farms. It wasn't uncommon for, a a page that was displaying an article to have, 15, 20 different links to it going to different sites. And, you can see how that would look to a search engine's eyes as, it's just like any of the other uh, link farms that we used to have back in the early 90s when the internet first got started. We used to have a lot of link farms. So article directories got classified as link farms because of all of these ads that the article directory owners were placing on these pages. And the biggest thing that really hurt them, I mean, Google took over as the major search engine several years ago, and when they started, abusing the AdSense terms of service, that's what really hurt them the most and really got Google to pay attention to them was the abuse of the AdSense. And then, like I said, once they started allowing all of the extra links. I mean, some article directories didn't care how many links you had in your articles either. You could have a link in every sentence if you wanted to. And you could have multiple links to multiple different websites in the articles. So it didn't take long for Google to realize that these articles were getting abused and that they weren't as good a content as they originally thought they were. So the article directory owners themselves are probably one of the biggest people to blame in it because they allowed this to happen. But then again, like I said, the internet marketers themselves were a big factor in the downfall of article marketing as well. It got to the point where internet marketers were taking PLR that they had purchased or got from free downloads or whatever, and it's using just any kind of content spinner at all, and just publishing these articles just everywhere. I mean, you'd see some articles that would be spun 100 times and published to 100 different directories, and a lot of times the articles were just, after they're spun like that, they just didn't make any sense at all. They weren't human readable. You could tell they were just spun just for the search engine spiders to come and find the keyword. And that was a huge factor in the downfall of article marketing when this started happening. And of course, you can also say it's partly the article directory owner's fault for allowing this to happen, because a lot of them that started these article directories, like I said, they seen the huge traffic that they were going to get and the ad revenue that they could get from people clicking on the banners and selling out the banner spots. So, a lot of them just didn't care. They allowed you to do just basically anything you wanted to. And you would have, there were at one point in time probably thousands of article directories that you could actually post articles to. And there were article syndication directories herself that would feed articles to other article directories. And there still is a few of those left. There's not as many as there once were. So, it just got to the point where, the content that was going on to most of the other article directories was just so extremely poor that, the search engines had no choice but to start de-indexing them, because the content just wasn't there for, their people that were using their search engines. The key thing that people forget is, the people that are using the search engines are real people looking for real content. They're not looking for, a keyword that's spread out amongst, a bunch of sentences that don't make any sense or has nothing to do with that keyword. They're actually looking for, the answer to a question or some sort of a solution or whatever, and they're not looking for just a keyword. They're not wanting to find just a keyword on a page. They're wanting to find out, the answers to their questions or a solution to a problem. And a lot of internet marketers, didn't see that, and they started abusing the system by publishing these articles in thousands of places. And of course, like I said, once this got to this point and the article directories allowing this to happen, it was just inevitable that it was going to happen, that, the search engines will start devaluing the content that comes from article directories. So, where does article marketing stand today? Article publishing will never help rank a website or get the traffic to your website like it once did. Like I said, at one point in time when the search engines viewed the content from article directories about the same esteem as a blog by having fresh, constant new content, and the article directories having, the collection of this content all segregated out into categories. They had an authority status and it really helped your websites. But when all this started to downfall, started degrade, it took a huge hit on them, and the article directories are never going to overcome that. It's never going to come back to the stance it once were. But the big, huge, major benefit that you can get from article publishing now that a lot of people look over, and one reason why they look over it because it is work involved into it as opposed to spinning content and publishing like it was before, and that's branding and name recognition. Article marketing is still great for putting links, references to yourself out on the internet that people can find and that people can relate back to as you having some sort of an authority in the niche that you're working in. So how do you brand yourself with article submissions? Creating an account on some of the big name article directories. Now, like I said, there were a few that fought back and cleaned their act up and got with Google and complied with the updates so that they would get re-indexed. Publishing articles on those directories and sticking to one target niche still looks good to people who are researching to find out more about you and your business, because they will find these articles, just they won't be ranked number one for a keyword anymore like they once were. But if you wanted to search somebody's name and a topic, it's a good chance if they're published on one of these major article directories that an article would show up in the search engine results. So they're really great for having a link out on the internet that references back to you as being somewhat of an authority in the niche that you're working in. Now, to be effective though, you need to publish unique articles to these directories. Spun content no longer works. It used to be that you could take one article that you'd write yourself or you'd outsource and have it written, and you could just somewhat rewrite it and publish it to the different article directories, and it would be seen as unique content. Well, that no longer works. In order for an article to even get indexed now, it has to be completely unique from any other article that's out on the internet. If there's any kind of duplication at all, it will fall under the duplicate content filters, which means it would never show up in the search engine results. The other thing that has changed with article submissions is it used to be that the thing to do was to link to either an offer, a landing page of some sort, or a squeeze page. Now you're better off to link to some sort of a about section on your website, whether it be an about me page, which is about yourself, or an about us page if you want to brand your company or brand. Like I said, the key thing now is to have unique articles for every article directory. In other words, they have to be totally, completely rewritten. They can be in the same topics. It's just that each article has to stand out different from each one. A good way of making sure that you're doing this is to use Copyscape. You can use Copyscape to find out if your articles are going to be viewed as 100% unique and that there's no other links to that type of content out there. So given this fact, any kind of PLR packages you buy will never help you as far as ranking for having content in your niche on the search engines. It's going to be found out on other websites, and the search engines now with their technology, with the spiders, they're going to find every phrase now, that every common phrase for any article that's out there. So spinning content will never work anymore, as opposed to how it used to be able to work for you back in the past, where you just have to rewrite the first paragraph or two and maybe the last paragraph, rewrite those. That would no longer fly now with the search engines. You have to write unique content for every single article. Now, create a published article section on your website or blog and link to your profile in the article directories will help as far as gaining credibility from the people that do come to your website. It's still viewed to people that find you, that find your blogs and your websites. If you have a section on your website that links to where you're published, that goes a long way in building credibility. But again, you do not want to repeat the same articles or posts on your blog or website. It used to be that you could take the original article that you've written and post it on your blog first, and then rewrite it somewhat and post it into the article directory. You can no longer do that, and it help you as far as the search engines ranking or indexing anything going back to your website. They will view it as duplicate content if there's any kind of duplication in that article at all. So you have to have, completely new articles that are only published on those article directories and not linked anywhere else. It's better if you're going to have, a list of articles like this, to curate those posts into an ebook collection of articles instead of having 15, 20 different links to your articles over on Ezine Articles. It's better to post a link to your profile over there instead of linking to every single one of those articles. You could take those articles, even in, the syndicated format, and curate those into an ebook, and that will, that won't hurt you to do that. But to link to every single article will not help you either. You're better off to have one link going back to your profile, and that from your profile they can find your articles that are published on that article directory. The next thing you can do is add a signature link in forums and your outgoing emails to the article directory profiles. This is one thing that helps Sean Mice a lot in his article marketing success. Was every email that he sent out for a period of years would link to his Ezine Articles author profile, where he had all those articles, and he was viewed as the top #1 article submitter. I think now he's actually #2, but there for several years he was the #1 article submitter, which just by being the #1 submitter, meant a lot. But all of his articles were in that one niche, which helped him tremendously, that every article that he posted over on Ezine Articles was all in that same niche. So he really had two things going for him there, and he would link to that author profile in every email he sent out, whether it be a personal email or an autoresponder email. You can also do this with your published articles on your website or blog as well. You could link to this published articles section that you have on your website, wherein that's the page where you would actually link to places that you are published, not the actual article links themselves. So which article directories still matter? These are the ones that got with Google and got themselves re-indexed back into the search engine results. Ezine Articles is still #1 and probably always will be. Go Articles is another one. They're not viewed as in favor as well as much as Ezine Articles, but they still do get indexed, especially by MSN. MSN really loves Go Articles. Article Alley and Article Base are two that will still get indexed. It's just that they're usually low in the results. Buzzle is viewed as a really good content provider, and of course Associated Content. Associated Content is one of the hardest ones to get published with, because they definitely want every piece of content that they publish to be unique and for it to be extremely high quality, because most of the time content going to Associated Content is re-syndicated to newspapers and magazines. But if you can get published over on Associated Content, that will help you a lot. Buzzle is another good one, but their quality guidelines are really strict as well, but they're not as strict as Associated Content. But of the ones that we would use the most, Ezine Articles and Go Articles are probably the two best ones to use. Like I said, Ezine Articles still ranks, in search results, and Go Articles does somewhat, not as much as it used to. Here's a plan that you can use for branding yourself with article marketing. Publish one article per week to 2 directories. In other words, don't try to hit every single directory every single week. Make out a list of the ones that you have accounts with, and just pick 2 of them per week to publish one article to them. And don't publish to any of the rest of them for the rest of that week. The next week, go to a different 2 and publish to those, and just keep cycling through your list. If you're doing all 6 of those I just mentioned before, it would take you 3 weeks to actually get through all 6 of those directories. Again, you got to make each article completely unique. Every article has to be totally unique from the other one. it would even be best if the topics were changed out somewhat, not the same exact topic for each one. Although you could still get away with that, publishing, an article that's in the same topic, but it's better if you could split it up and maybe break it up into parts, publish different parts of an article each week to that article directory, so that you have like a syndication of parts going to that one article directory. That may make it a little harder to keep up with. You may have to create some sort of a spreadsheet to keep up with where you are at with your last post, if that's what you're wanting to do. After 3 weeks, and this is when you should by now have 6 articles that have been accepted to the article directories, you want to create the section on your website or blog that has your published articles and the links to your author profiles over on the article directories that you're using. At this point, you will only have 6 of them if you're doing 2 per week. I don't recommend doing more than 2 per week. You could do 3 and maybe get by with it, but once you start getting multiple out there per week, it's going to start looking bad to Google and the other search engines that you may be doing some article spamming. So you're better off to publish extremely high quality and low count, as opposed to semi good quality and a high count. You're better off to stick to the lower count with extreme high quality, as opposed to what people were doing before, trying to get 15, 20 a week to be indexed. After these 3 weeks, you want to create and use the forum signatures I talked about that links back to your website where you have your published articles section, where it links to your article profiles. Or you could link to 1 or 2 of the different article directories, especially if you wanted to concentrate on just 1 or 2 different article directories. You could do that instead. After 5 weeks, at this point, you should have 10 articles, 10 high quality articles that are published. You could curate those articles into an ebook, and then you could optionally use these ebooks as either a free gift for opt-ins, or to link to your articles, or to link in your emails, as a gift to go out to your subscribers. Optionally, you could link to articles in your emails as well. Once you've had an article that's been published, you could send out, if you're building your list, you could send out a link to the just published article over on the article directories to help get a little bit of traffic to, because it looks good to the article directories if people are coming and seeing your article as well. They will still yet get some traffic from people that find it in the search engines and people that are browsing those article directories. But if they get direct hits, that aren't coming from a search engine, that helps a lot, in that the article directory itself will start to rank your article above the others that are published there. Okay, so that's our training on branding with article marketing. Now, this was, for those of you that are in the SWR, you'll recognize this part of this training as the first training that's in my SWR course modules. This is part of the main course module on branding yourself. It's just a small subset of what you can do to start getting your name out on the internet and getting people to recognize who you are and for them to be able to find you. Like I said, you can't depend on article marketing for traffic anymore like you used to be able to. You can't even depend on it for the people that do come to your articles to actually bring you traffic back to your website. But you can, like I said, use it to build a brand and name recognition, and it works really well for that, because it still looks good to people to see yourself published out on other websites besides your own. It works really great for content on Facebook pages and groups that you might have. It works great for that to help build your authority in the niches that you might have where you started fan pages and groups over on Facebook. So article marketing still has a really good use for us. It's just nowhere near as good as it used to be. It's just that we have to attack it from a different angle now and use it for different purposes as what we used to be able to use it for.